Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Mary D Talk Show. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are well, I say our replay viewers, welcome. And those of you that are fans, welcome. Some of you are here every week. So, hold on. I thought I was live. Maybe I'm not live. It just said, oh, go live. Okay. I think that was it. All right. So let me say the welcome again. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mary D Talk Show. It just something popped up on the computer and made me say that. But I like to thank you. If you're live, thank you. If you're a replay, thank you. It makes a difference. Let me just say that to you. Those of you that are replay viewers, I've heard replay, like, does it matter? And the answer is yes. It all matters. For those of you that would, you can subscribe, you can like and subscribe, and you can share. You can do all three of those things, and it makes a difference. I do see the numbers ticking up, but you know people that I'll never know. So when you share it, it makes just a huge difference. I have to say hi, or our executive producer for the show is my husband Oliver. Hi, babe. He's in the background. You guys you'll see him on Christmas, as I say. He comes on the in front of the camera on Christmas, but he's definitely here, and he's definitely keeping the show going and doing all the little things you guys see going on. That's definitely Albert in the background. Replay, as I said, replay viewers, thank you. I like to thank our sponsors for the show. They are First Book Academy. Hi, Dr. Aura. Good afternoon. Those of you that are interested in writing and publishing your book, whether it be your first book, your 100th book, doesn't matter, but I would highly recommend, if you're interested in doing that, you can contact firstbookacademy.com and you can sign up. There's going to be a workshop coming up. It's actually around some things going on with the family, but yes, there will be workshops coming up, and you guys as I haven't had the workshop this year. I can't believe it, but it's just like, this has been a different year. It's just been different. Let me just say that. I mean, it's been all good, but it's just been different. So, but there'll be a workshop coming up. If you want to write and publish your book, we can make that happen. As many of you know, I have a children's book coming out called When I Was on the Moon. I can tell you guys some stories, but that's another whole thing. Because today I want to vote. I want to focus on what's going on with the Electoral College. What does that mean, and what is it, and all those kind of things. We're going to talk about that. So let me say again. So it's the Idea Club is a sponsor. If you're interested in having a 501c3, a C Corp, S Corp, you want to contact theideaclub.com. Okay. Dumas Martin Jr. is over the Idea Club. So they're also a sponsor for the show. We also have, as mentioned before, Front Page Publishing, also a sponsor for the show. So those of you that are interested in those two things, you want to contact them, and without a doubt. And I just realized today, I hadn't put I call them, these are people that give information out freely to the community. And I need to go on and put them on the bottom of the emails, because anybody, you can contact them, and that is Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor. She's one. Hi, Lorenzo. Good to see you. Let me put your names up. Hi, Waibani. Good to see you. That's Dr. Aura. I'm going to call Dr. Lorenzo and Dr. Waibani. Good to see all of you. And I would now I lost my train of thought. I started talking about I said the books. What was I talking about? Well, anyway, I'll get back. I'm sure I'll get back to it. But I was saying about Dumas Martin Jr. to contact for the Idea Club. You definitely want to do that if you're looking to do those things, and he'll be able to help you. Okay. Now, why we're here today is really, really important. Remember, don't forget to share, subscribe, and share the show out. Please do. And I don't know why, but it looks like Facebook, there's something going on with their system. I don't know what it is. Maybe somebody else knows. I don't know. But so I don't think I'm on Facebook, but I'm on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, live on those. I really should be live on, and I forgot to set it up, and that's the X, no, Instagram. I just didn't go on today on Instagram, but I will for next week. I'm gonna have it all set up, the camera set up for next week. You can go live on Instagram. Okay, what we're talking about today, and why I want to talk about this, truthfully, is that we don't know what the Electoral College is. Most people don't, and they are like, "What do you mean?" And then you hear people say, "Well, my vote doesn't count." So I'm going to get into why we're talking about this today. Not only does your vote count, this is a good today's. I mean, what's going on with the heightened interest in politics, which I think is really good, by the way. But I also know too. Oh, Nicolette, hi Nicolette, welcome, welcome. What I wanted to tell you the importance of it. I've heard people say my vote doesn't count. I've heard people say, well, I'm gonna sit this election out. I've heard people, all these things I've heard too. So I'm sure many of you have also. The minute you say you're sitting this election out and you're not gonna vote or whatever the case may be, then you're saying you don't care. You don't care who wins. That's what you're, without saying that, that's what you're really saying. I can tell you how Oliver and I vote so much. The politicians come by our house and want to talk to us because the one thing they know, if they don't know anything else, they know they have 2 voters here. They know this. Many of you may or may not know. They know on the voting rolls who votes and who doesn't. If you notice on the rolls when they mark, when you sign your name and everything, they're marking when they give you that ballot. They know who gets the ballot and who doesn't. So they know who votes. Well, they don't know who you vote for, but they know who votes. That's the key. They have to first know if you are there voting. That's why it's so important. Every single vote counts, ladies and gentlemen. When people tell you, well, my vote doesn't count, and what they're really saying is when you look at the Electoral College, and I'm gonna get into that and what the electors, all that information. But the point is, for 48 states, it's a winner take all. Now think about winner. Let me explain what that means. That means if the candidate wins the state, they get all of those electoral votes. Let me explain what electoral votes are. I'm going to start there. So I just made a really quick PowerPoint just to go over it with you. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't even see that. I saw Wybani, Nicolette, and Nicolette. You said, "Oops, you forgot this is actually Nan." Oh, oh, hi Nan. You are so funny using that account. All right, no problem. You're using the account on your cell phone. No problem. I'm glad you made it. Glad you could come today. So, that was funny. Okay, now I'm gonna go over. I love going over this. As many, I don't know if you guys already know, I was a history teacher. Everybody knew that. So I enjoy teaching. This is, to me, I'm in my element. Anytime I can share knowledge, I love it. Okay, Electoral College. The Electoral College decides who will be elected president and vice president of the United States. Learn who is involved and how the process works. That's what we're going to do to think. Dig right in to it. And remember, if you have any questions, please write them in the chat. I promise you, if I don't know the answer, I will get the answer for you. Okay, because this is important stuff. This is what's going to decide. We only have how many? I don't know how many days. It was like 53. I don't know now what the days are. But no matter what, if you really think about it, whoever gets elected is still history making because it would be the first woman elected. But we also have someone who was president, because you can only serve 2 terms max. Once you max those 2 terms out, that's it. So you have a woman who was president. And now you have, I'm sorry. Look, you see what I just said? I just heard what I just said. Wow. I said you have a woman who was president. And that was not what I was trying to say. I was actually trying to say you have a woman running for president. That's not the first time we've had that. We've had that. This is that I'm aware of 3 times. The first one being Shirley Chisholm. The second one being Hillary Rodham Clinton. And now we have our third woman running for the presidency of the United States, and that's Kamala Harris. So we have had 3 women, 2 African-American women, 1 Caucasian woman. But when Shirley Chisholm ran, she was never The best way I could say it, she was never taken seriously. Is the best way I could say it. I didn't see her, but she was my parents when she was running. The Our neighbors had, I guess, a meet and greet for her next door, and my parents when I was growing up. I just remember all the Secret Service. They literally closed our block down within blocks of our house. The helicopters were over the house. It was like that. It was one of those kind of situations where you're like, they told us we have to stay in our yard, I think it was. And we were kids. What did we know? We did. I just remember that it was a big deal. And they had at that time, they had limousines. It wasn't the black SUVs like they do now, but they had the actual limousines. And she was running for president. She was running for president. So that's as close as I could get to her. I mean, as far as to see her. I did not get a chance to see Hillary when she was running. I did see Bill Clinton. I think he was at Valley College when he was president. So I've tried to see the people that are in these offices, even though everybody says, oh, they're just like everybody else. I think I don't believe that because of what it takes to be in those positions. You have to be different to a certain extent, and to run they don't actually run the country. I don't want to sound like that, but they're the leaders. That's all there is to it. They're the leaders. So let's go to we're going to go to the next slide. Let me take a look first before we go to the next slide. Any other comments? And we have Charles. Welcome, Charles. Welcome to the show. Glad to see you. Glad you could make it. So this is one, like I said, I'm hoping if you didn't already know all these things, if you already know it, that's fine. But still, if you have questions and you think that the audience may have a question about it, don't hesitate. And let me just go over it quickly before we go into the Electoral College. In order to be president, you must be these things: 35 years old, born on U.S. soil, and live consistently on U.S. soil for 14 consecutive years. And what else? This is the third thing: 35, born on U.S. soil. Oh, that is it. And live here for 14 years. That's it. That is it. Then you can apply, and I believe the fee to apply is $5,000. So if anybody's interested, just so you know, and you have to have, you don't have to just be able to, you can, as far as being with the major party and all those kind of things, that's not a requirement. That tends to be where people are because it's easier to raise money because people are already interested in what that party does, but that's not a requirement. Just those things. Be 35 and older. You can be older than 35, but the minimum age is 35, and live in the United States for 14 consecutive years and be born on U.S. soil. That's it. So if you're thinking about it, you might want to consider it. Okay. What is Electoral College? Each state gets as many electors as it has members of Congress, or it's the House and the Senate, including Washington, D.C.'s 3 electors. Now, why is that important? Washington, D.C. is not a state. Think about it. It says District of Columbia. It is not a U.S. state. It's more considered like a territory, but at the same time, they get 3 electors. So that's still 3 electors for some people can send you over to the magic quote unquote number. We'll talk about that too, of the 270. But so it's based on, number one, electors are based on the population for your state. You have, how many do you have in your house? In California, we have 53 in the House, 2 senators. So in the House of Representatives, we have 53 representatives that are both, for the most part, for the dominant 2 parties, they're Democrats or Republicans. Now, in our state, we have 2 senators from the state of California. California being the most populous state at 40 million or close to 40 million. That's our numbers. So that's so you know. I'm using California because that's the state I live in. If you go to vote.gov, you can find how many electors are in your state if you're outside of California. But it's everything I'm telling you is all on the internet because that's where I got my information from. So I'm saying that to you. So if you want to look for yourself, you're more than, you can look and find out for yourself. Each state's political parties choose their own slate of potential electors. Who is chosen to be an elector, how and when varies by state. Now, that's what's known as states' rights, meaning the state can determine how they want to have their electors. And they determine, those electors are the ones that go to the convention. And when you see the signs, and it has and the people around that sign are usually the electors from that state. I don't want to say that they may or may not be. Sometimes they may be, sometimes they may not be. I don't want to say a statement like that and you think, oh, they must all be electors. No, I don't want to stop, because that's not true. And the reason I know it's not true, I was able to go to a convention. I think I shared that with you guys last week, when they had the Democratic National Convention in LA. This was years ago. And I was able to get in and all that, which is a story in itself. But let's stay focused on this, and I'll get back to that. But that's why I know there's no way to know. I'll say that. And it could be, but I don't want to make a statement that I can't substantiate. So each state's political parties choose their own slate, SLATE, not state, their own slate of potential electors, who is chosen to be an elector and how will vary, and it varies by state. So that is something every state can decide for themselves. Now, what is the Electoral College? The Electoral College is not a physical place. Oh, let me go. Before I go into that, let me go back. I'm sorry. And check to see if there are any questions. Okay. The question is, I like the outline you sent in the mail. Okay. Politics are an interest of mine since I saw the Grand Dam, Shirley Chisholm, I know, involved and daring to step forward. Yes. Yes. Hi, Fayette. Hi, Fayette. That's why I thought, I sent that out. I'm glad you like that. I really am. Because, Nanette, I felt, and I tried to send the one I thought was the easiest to understand. There are different ones on the internet, but the goal is not to confuse people. Because and I know, if it's too much to read, people are not going to read it. That's number one. But what I'm learning is just be, what's the word I'm trying to say? Just almost, I don't want to sound elementary, but easy to learn. Because you put too much on that, even on those emails, they're not going to read it. But because this is the same one I sent you guys. I didn't send anything, crazy. Because why would I? When the goal is that we know what this is, because guess what we're going to do? I know this is what I end up doing. We're going to share it. I promise you, there's somebody that say, I don't even know what that Electoral College stuff is. Exact, because that's who you are now. Now you do know who that Electoral College stuff is. Now you do know what that's all about. It's not this nebulous thing anymore. Now you have information. And the one thing, and thank you for saying that, Annette, because now in what I got back today on the text messages was, I'm sharing this. Those of you that are not, if you're not getting the text message, I will make sure at the end you get my email and you put your cell phone number in. The text messages go out usually about an hour before the show. The text messages go. And the reason I do that, sometimes I will do the number one thing you want to be on is the email. Let me say that. The text is kind of like icing on the cake, but the emails go out more frequently than a text. Text only goes out the day of the show. That's basically it. But the emails, anytime I get information, I think you guys would appreciate, or then I try to share that. But on the text, people even said on the text, thank you. Because I said on the text, I went, double check your voter registration. Because, and I'm getting off on a tangent again, but I'm about to talk about this really quickly. As I remember, I shared with you, I did voter registration a few years ago. 50% of the people that thought they were registered were not. 50%. Not 1%, not 10%. Every person, if two people came up to me and said they were registered, I already knew one wasn't. And every single time it happened that way. And every single time I told a person they weren't registered, the first thing they said was, "What? I'm not registered?" That they act like I did something. And I said, "No, I'm sorry, you're not registered, but we can register you right now." And they automatically register because they thought they were registered anyway. Okay, and I say that to say, check your registration, ladies and gentlemen. This is a good time to check it and make sure. And I'll talk more about that at the end because I want to get into some things I want to talk to you about voter registration. But I'm trying to be nonpartisan on this. I'm really just trying to give information because this is something we need to know. I don't care what party you're with. I don't care if you're not with the party. You still, in my opinion, you vote, then you need to know why all this matters. Okay, back to the subject at hand. Okay. What is the Electoral College? The Electoral College is not a physical place. It is a process which includes the selection of electors, meeting of electors who can cast votes for the president and vice president, the counting of electors' votes by Congress. Now, if we remember a few years ago, they would not certify the vote, certify the votes from the every state. If they're not certified, then the reason for that big deal, then that person cannot be sworn in to be president. And the vice president is sworn in too, by the way. I don't know if you guys you probably already know too. Both are sworn in. That's the process to be in those positions. They're both sworn in. So the key is you want it all. It's just like anything else we do in our society. It's you want it to be clear and succinct and those kind of things. And if it's not, then it becomes questionable as to what really happened and did somebody try and quote unquote cheat or that kind of thing. So that's why you have to be clear about what's really going on. It says, in other U.S. elections, candidates are elected directly by the popular vote. So your governor, for whatever state you're in, is directly by the popular vote. Your U.S. senators, directly by the popular vote. House of Representatives, your mayor. Okay. Those political positions, they're by the popular vote. Whoever it could be one vote over. I forget which one. I don't know. I can't remember who it was. They're running for office. They won by 12 votes. So when you say your vote it doesn't count, it does count. Think about this. One vote, they won by 12 votes. But just if the other person had 13 additional people vote for them, they would have won. Your vote counts. I can't stress that enough. I'm probably preaching to the choir. Normally you are when you talk about these things, because people that vote tend to be more on top of these kind of things. And then people that don't vote, they're the I don't care stage, and that they don't really care one way or the other. But your vote definitely counts. It will definitely count in this election, probably more than any other one in my lifetime is this one that's coming up. Okay. Now, the president but the president and vice president are not elected directly by citizens. Instead, they are chosen through the Electoral College process. Let me give you an example. In Texas, there are 40, based on their population, there are 40 electoral votes. I'm sorry, from the Electoral College, not votes, but yeah, you can say votes, but they have 40. As I said before, California has 55. I forget how many New York has, but but you can look it up. But the point is, you can look up your state. And we're going to talk about why these states, the other states are swing states too. But anyway, the process of using electors comes from the Constitution. It was a compromise between a popular vote by the citizens and a vote in Congress. So this is why we have the Electoral College. Of everything that has come before our to be changed in our society, this is one that people have wanted to change. Let me go back. Let me see if there's any comments about this. Oh, there may be. Yeah, okay. Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. And hi, Debbie. Debbie, you said, will you address how to become an elector? You know, that's a good question, Debbie. Honestly, I didn't put that in here. I'm gonna be honest on that. If you, I read about it, but I did not make a slide about it. But I did read about it. If you want to put it in, or you want to send, put a comment in, how do you become an elector? For those of you that don't know, Debbie Franklin was once the mayor of a city, so she would definitely know. She's very knowledgeable about these things too. And Evelyn, why should we vote if the Electoral College decides the outcome? Good question, Evelyn. I like those kind of questions because the Electoral College outcome is based on the popular vote. So, let me use California for an example. In California, California tends to be a Democratic state and tends to, as a whole, go Democratic. So that would mean those 55 electoral votes would go toward whoever is the Democratic nominee for president, whoever that person is. That's where they would go. So, but it's based on the popular vote for that state. So if the popular vote for the state is not, if we don't have enough people voting for that, how are you going to vote for the electors? So it's a direct correlation between the popular vote. So the popular vote for the state, in essence, is where those electors are going to go. But Debbie, like I said, if you want to send that to me, you can send it to me, or you can just put it in the comment. How to become an elector. That's a very good read. I read it, but I was too focused on what the Electoral College is, truthfully. How does the Electoral College process work? After you cast your ballot for president, your vote goes to a statewide tally. So, there goes me and my light. So it goes to the entire state of California. So basically, the state of California votes. There's 40 million people. If I'm not mistaken, the last time I remember, I don't know what the numbers, it's in the way in the millions, but whatever they vote. So now they're going to tally all the votes for the state of California. If the Democrats win, now that whatever that number is over the Republicans, because those are the two dominant parties, then those electoral votes goes to whoever is a Democratic person running for president. It's called winner takes all for that state. That's what that's called. But we do have two states that's not like that. Maine and Nebraska assigned the electors using a proportional system. Now, Mike, I don't know how they did that because I don't even know how they could do that against the Constitution, but I'm not into that, and I don't want to be getting into Maine and Nebraska and why they do what they do. But they're the only two states that are allowed to do that. And even though it says 48 states and Washington, they did put Washington. I was going to say they forgot Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. with those three electors is important. It is. So after you cast your ballot for president, now they're going to total all those votes for the entire state. If California has more Democrats, and now those 55 electors go to that candidate. If it's more Republicans, then those 55 will go to the Republican candidate for president. That's how that works. That's why you see there's, as we call the swing states. Let me go and see if there are any questions before I go on. Because that's where you'll see why that's so important. Because they call them battleground states, they call them swing states, they call a lot of things. Where some states they know the numbers wise how many people would go for a certain party. They don't, nobody knows for sure. Let me say that anyway. But they get an idea. Number one, they know that by the voter registration. That's how they know too. How many are registered to vote for a certain political party, or some people are voted independent. There's so many. There's the Green Party. There's a socialist party. There's so many different parties. It's not like it's just a one party. Those are smaller parties, but they have their place. I don't want everybody to think, oh, they're just a smaller party. Doesn't matter. Nope, that's not true. Because many of the ideas that are incorporated into the larger parties come from those smaller parties. That's where they come from. So it does make a difference. And I'm sorry, let me go to. Oh, you said why should we vote? Because it matters, Evelyn. It matters because it's a winner take all. So if let's say everybody in the state of California decide that they're Republican, they decide not to vote, even though it's a winner. And the Democrats do vote. So now the Democrats automatically they get those 55 the Electoral College votes. So it is very important that you vote. I don't even know how to say that it isn't. And I'll tell you truthfully, I vote not just because of that. I vote too because somebody died so I could vote. People gave their life. Think about that. So that you could walk in and vote without worrying about being killed or being lynched for voting. It was against the law. Think about it. That's another reason I vote. At one time, it was against the law to teach someone of my complexion, if you are Black, to even read. It was against the law to teach me how to read. The least I can do is go vote. That's how I look at life. I said, I think I can handle that. If that's what to me, I owe it to my ancestors to vote. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know anyone in my family that died so I can vote, but I know people that have died historically so that I could vote. They gave their life because that's how much it meant to them. Many of you may already know, in this country, Black men received the right to vote 50 years before white women did. It's hard to believe that, but it's true. I know I said that in a conversation and everybody wasn't happy about it, but it's true. Black men had the right to vote 50 years before white women did. So, be that as it may, that's why I was not surprised when Barack Obama won. I wasn't surprised at all because I knew the history of our country. And so I was glad, I knew he would probably be there before women would be, just because I know we tend to. Now, in this situation now that we're in, that we have a Caucasian man and an African American woman, and we're African American and Indian. This is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting of how this election turns out. To me, it doesn't matter what the polls say. I don't even look at the polls. I don't even look at them because I already know nothing matters until we hit that, until you go in there and vote. I don't care how many polls they take. They can take 1 million of them. It does not matter. Until people vote, that's all that matters. And I hate that they even take a poll, if you want to know the truth about it, because I think it gives people a false sense of security or whatever. Nothing matters until the day of the election. Nothing. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay. Antonio. Hi, Antonio. Antonio says, hi, Mary. I was wondering if you could promote my book and share with everyone that my book launched last Friday. And the book is called The Adventures of Elise and Elena. So, ladies and gentlemen, to Antonio, it has a book. Is it on Amazon, Antonio? He has a book out and he would like for you to purchase that. So that you got that's it. I gave you that plug, Antonio. And Charles said, a person is not Electoral College vote. He's there on did I say something? I could have. So I could have said that. So it really is saying, no, it's not on Amazon. Where is it, Antonio? So I could have said it, Charles. I could have. You have to help me with that one. So if I did, I could have misspoke. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay. Now, no, they're electors. That's what they are. They're a person is an elector. Excuse me. Let me also say this. I didn't put it in the PowerPoint, but I want to talk about faithless electors. Faithless electors. Faithless electors are electors that, when it's time to cast their ballot, they don't cast their ballot with their group. Okay, as I mentioned before, 55 from California, and so let's say 54 cast their ballot with the winner take all, and one cast their ballot with the opposite candidate, I guess, or something. Then they can actually remove that elector and say, no, that's, you signed that you would agree to whoever won the state of California, you would cast your ballot for that state. But Debbie, maybe I'll talk about that next week on what it takes to become an elector, because that's a really good one. I just haven't talked. I was actually going to talk about a couple other things, but that's a good one. But we're in a climate that this is, I mean, as they say, you would have to be up under a rock not to see what's going on in our country, because the whole world is watching us. It's not, I know we don't feel that, but they are. We're saying we are the home of the free and the land of the brave, and we believe in democracy. All these things that we say, and the world is, see, remember, there's another form of government going on too, ladies and gentlemen. Our form of government is not the only government there is in the world. There are dictators where you have no rights. None. That's, I know how many people would say, well, I have rights. You only have them because the Constitution gives them to you. That's the only reason. But what if we didn't have a Constitution anymore? I know it's hard to believe, huh? Don't ask me what it would be replaced with, but I'm saying that so you know, the rights that you have they have been fought for. They didn't just come. It's not like that. People, like as I said before, that just to have the vote, people died for that. So to have the rights you have, people have died for those rights. They have given their life. That's how much they have meant to people. So don't take these things lightly. You really can't. Because our society, sometimes we take it lightly. We think, oh, it's not a big deal. But the truth is, it is a very big deal. Everything that we look at is, I think, we take for granted. That's the best way I can say. I think we do. And I'm guilty of it too. I am. So I'm not just talking about anybody here. I know, like it or not, there's a part of me. It's like, oh, I have the right to do this. I have the right to do all those kind of things. But what gives me that right? Our Constitution. It all stems from that one piece of paper. That's what it all comes from. Okay, as I keep going. So I see, Evelyn, you said, thank you so much. I now understand more of how this works. Oh, Evelyn, you touch my heart. You touch my heart. I am so happy to hear you say that. You have no idea. Because just knowing that it helps somebody is, because what'll happen now, you can tell somebody else. That's really what it is. Now you'll be able to say, it's not, we make it harder than it is. I don't know if you're on the email list or not, Evelyn. I will put my address. I'll put my address. I'll put my email up there. Well, it's mary@marydwelch.com. You can send me an email. The reason I'm saying that, if you're not on the email list, let's say you get the text message, but you don't get the emails, then send me an email to mary@marydwelch.com. And then I can put you on the email list if you're not already on there. And that goes for anybody else that's not on the email list. You want to go to mary@marydwelch.com. Okay, how does it work? This is a continue. A candidate needs the vote of at least 270 electors, more than half of all electors, to win the presidential election. Let me say this again. A candidate needs the vote of at least 270 electors, more than half of all electors, to win the presidential election. In most cases, a projected winner is announced on election night in November after you vote. But the actual Electoral College vote takes place in mid-December when the electors meet in their states. And they actually, for the most part, they meet at the state capitol, if I remember correctly. And then they sign off. I forget the name of the paper, but they sign saying that they're casting all their electoral votes for this candidate. That's what happens. So let me say it again. A candidate needs the vote of at least 270 electors, more than half of all electors, to win the presidential election. In most cases, a projected winner is announced on election night in November after you vote. Now, I remember when they used to announce who won, the polls were still open in California for like 3 or 4 hours, and they would have already announced the winner. And we're like, and people would, they stopped voting. They're like, well, if you've already announced the winner, why need to go vote? So now they don't do that. Thank goodness they don't do it, but they used to. In most cases, a projected winner is announced on election night in November after you vote, but the actual Electoral College vote takes place in mid-December when the electors meet in their states. It's usually the state capitol, and then you can see the timeline of events. If you already got this in the email. If you got the email. While the Constitution does not require electors to vote for the candidate chosen by their state's popular vote, some states do. In other words, some of them have it where you have to do that. The rare elector who votes for someone else may be fined, disqualified, and replaced by a substitute elector, or may even be prosecuted by their state. This is when those of you are looking at what's going on in Georgia. Hold on. Okay. Where fake electors were signing papers, all kinds of things. That's illegal, basically. Unusual electoral college scenarios. Winning the popular vote, but losing the election. It is possible to win the Electoral College, but lose the popular vote. This happened in 2016 and 2020 and 3 times in the 1800s. It is possible. Think about it. You win the Electoral College, but lose the popular vote. It happened in 2016. Think about it. That wasn't that long ago. What happens if no candidate wins the majority of electoral votes? If no candidate receives a majority of electoral votes, the vote goes to the House of Representatives. Think about what happens. This has happened twice. The first time was following the 1800 presidential election when the House chose Thomas Jefferson. And following the 1824 presidential election, the House elected John Quincy Adams as president. So it's happened. These things have happened where nobody received the majority of the electoral votes. Now, we hope that doesn't happen, but it can, truthfully said, it can happen. Now, this is key because some of you may say this. Well, how do we change this? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't go back and check and see if there's any questions. Okay. Oh, you say, yes, I am. Okay, good, Evelyn. I'm glad. I'm glad you're on the email list because that's, as you know, that's where the bulk of the information comes from. Is that email list? If you have friends and family you want to add to email list, all you have to do is send me an email with their first name and their email, and they'll be put on the list. How to change the Electoral College. The Electoral College process is in the U.S. Constitution. It would take a constitutional amendment to change the process. For more information, contact your U.S. Senator or U.S. Representative. That's in the House. That's what they mean, House Representative. And that I'm saying that as far as any questions about the Electoral College, because I wanted to go over it because when they talk about it, they talk about it as if everybody knows about it. And I'm sitting here going, I know people don't understand this. And why would you? Why would you? Why would you? All we know is you go to the polls and you vote. That's all I've ever known until I start teaching it, by the way. And that's the only reason I would tell you. But it's not something I think we talk about to know what that is, what's the Electoral College. So that's why it was important to me to go over it with you. Any questions about it? Okay. I will. Now, there's some other things I want to talk about quickly. So we have a couple of minutes, which is good. I just want, now this is about, I want to share with you because many people don't know this. If you are not, if you have been convicted of a felony, I'm going to speak for California. I can't speak for the rest of the country. As I said before, I can only talk about the state I'm living in. So if you've been convicted of a felony and you are not in prison, you can vote. Now, why does that matter? Do you know how many millions of people have been convicted of felonies don't know that they can vote? They never register because it used to be years ago, if you were convicted of a felony, you couldn't vote. I remember that. I remember that. And that's how much things have changed. And now you can. The only way you cannot vote is you must be in prison. That's about it. Even if you're in jail, you can vote. Think about what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. If you are in jail, you can vote. So if you know someone who's in jail, they can vote. If you are a college student, you want to contact the Register of Voters, or you know someone who is, by the way. And I like saying that. It may not be you I'm talking to, but you know someone this can affect them on voting. If they're a college student, then they want to contact the Register of Voters. I don't know if they vote in let's say they're in another state. They live in California. Their parents live in California, but they're going to college in another state. Then they want to contact the Register of Voters and find out what do they need to do to vote. Do they vote in the state they live in, that they're in college in, or do they need to get a ballot from where their parents are? But the Register of Voters have answers to every single thing I'm saying to you. You can either go online and get your Register of Voters and get the number there, or Google it. You can get the number. It's not that hard to get, I'm sure. If you are disabled, if you are blind, or you have a disability, any of those things, you contact the Register of Voters. If they need to send you a different type ballot, they will. Whatever you need, they're going to make those not going to say exceptions, but they're going to make it easy for you to vote. So contact the Register of Voters in wherever you live. We live in Riverside, California. Our nearest one is in Moreno Valley. I think that's still Riverside. But anyway, the point is on Gateway Drive. You can go there, or you can call them, whatever you want to do. But the point is, that's where you would need to go. Just Google it. The Register of Voters in whatever your zip code or area code is. Another thing to want to keep in mind, if you know people that are U.S. citizens and they live overseas, they want to contact the Register of Voters so they can get their ballot and mail it in. I'm assuming mail it in. I think they want to bring it in. They live out of state or out of the country. So these are in all of these scenarios, someone is going to be affected by all of these things I'm saying. I'm trying to think, which one did I miss? Let me check really quickly here, because I want to make sure I'm going over these with you, because what happens is everything I'm mentioning, somebody is going to need these things. The biggest one to me was because it used to be if you had a felony and if you couldn't be on parole or probation. That's no longer on the table. If you're not in prison, you can vote, but you got to go register. If you don't know where to register to vote, go online. I sent those links out today, and I said, click here, and it's vote.gov. Vote.gov. Go to that site. You can answer That's where I've been getting the information for you from. So I would encourage you to go there, and that's where you can get information because um, I want you to be, you know, forewarned. And so I said, college student voting as a new U.S. citizen. Okay, let me go over that. Let me see if we look. Okay, as a new U.S. citizen, you have an opportunity to take part in U.S. elections. Voting is your right and a great way to make a difference in your community. Registering to vote is the first step. Before you can vote, you need to register. Once you've registered, you can vote in the state, local, and federal elections. So you may have already registered to vote at your naturalization ceremony. If you're not sure, you can check the registration status online or visit your local election office. Those of you that got the text this morning, it said double check your registration. As I said before, 50% of the people that I talked to were not registered. They all thought they were, by the way. Everybody, oh no, I'm registered. They weren't. So I would highly recommend. Remember, if you move, you have to re-register. People don't know that because I talked to too many people that said, well, I just moved across the street. I had someone tell me that. I moved across the street. And they're like, why do I need to re-register? I said, okay, let me just say this to you. When they're sending that ballot, they're going to send it to your old address because they don't know you moved to a new address. And they're like, oh, okay, now you make it sense. So it does. It really does matter. It says, so registering is the first step because they need to know where you live. But let me say this too. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Boy, I don't think I've sneezed online. Sorry about that. So you want to make sure if somebody you know is a new citizen, they've already, or if they haven't registered, go online, vote.gov, and they can find out where they register. You receive a voter registration. If you haven't registered, don't wait. You can register to vote at any time after your naturalization ceremony. Make sure you're officially a citizen before registering. So make sure you're a U.S. citizen before you register to vote. You want to make sure of that. And because non-citizens, including permanent legal residents, cannot vote in federal, state, and most local elections. Registering to vote before you're a citizen can affect your citizenship. Okay. You can register online, you can register by mail, or you can register in person. Those are the three ways you can register to vote. Remember, I'm going to say this again, vote.gov. Now, but I do want to go back. There's one more other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, I learned something new. If you know someone who is unhoused, because we don't want to, now that's used to be called homeless, now it's called unhoused, then they can vote. Let me tell you what you need. Information on this page is for anyone without a permanent address. That includes people who move around often and are between homes. If you have a limited internet access, you can go to your local election office in person or call them to get answers to your voting questions. Find the address and phone number of your state and local office online or get information at your local library. If you are a homeless service provider in the U.S., they have resources. You need to register. You will need a form of ID. And it says each state or territory, hold on. Because each state or territory has its own voter ID rules. You may not need an ID to register to vote, but in most states, you must bring identification to vote in person. You can check your state's specific ID requirements online. And if I remember, you want to check that. If you don't have an actual driver's license or California, I'm used to California ID, you can use your passport, but they have a list of things you can use. But I would check all of that before those, anybody who's unhoused. Now, unhoused can also mean, and we don't talk about this, if you have family members that are at your home and they're sleeping on the sofa or sleeping on the floor, but they're only there temporarily. I know a temporary situation that lasted 20 years, meaning that was their home now. So your home address could be their address to receive a ballot. That could happen too. You do need ID. What happens if you don't have one? You can get an ID card at your state, at the at ours, at DMV. If you don't have the money, there are groups that pay for you to get an ID. I don't know who the groups are, by the way, but there are one. And probably the DMV has a list. It's what I'm thinking. I don't know that to be true, but or even a shelter may have a list of people that are they're willing to pay so you can have an ID. He says, well, you will need a mailing address. It can be the shelter. It can be a religious center. It can be general delivery. I don't know how that works because I don't know about general delivery. I don't want to say that. But a P.O. box, if you don't already have one and you know someone who is unhoused, a P.O. box can be their mail. That's where they pick their mail up. Yeah, but that costs. I'm just being honest. A P.O. box costs money. A home address of a friend or family member who lives nearby. It's all acceptable to get their mail or to get their ballot. Okay. But the shelter, these are the ones they tend to be if they're unhoused. It's a shelter, a religious center, or a community place to pick their mail up. If you're not sure the address, you can go or call the Register of Voters and let them know that you are unhoused and you want to know how you can get your ballot. They may let you pick it up there. I don't know. Don't quote me on that because I don't know. Okay. If you need help filling out the voter registration, the state or local election officer can help you fill out. Office can help you fill out your voter registration, request a mail ballot. A local shelter or for unhoused people may also be able to help you. Now I'm going to go back and see if you guys have any questions about anything I'm talking about. Oliver, I need Oliver's comment. Oliver says, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the show and sharing your experience and thoughts on the topic today. Hi, babe. Those of you who don't know, he's right there. I told you guys, you may not see him, but he'll be right there. All right. Nanette said, this is Nanette saying bye to Mary Power. Bye, Nanette. Thank you. Always. We just love to see you here. Every time you can stop by, it's appreciated. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 minutes. I think, on the computer, I have 2 minutes. If you have any other questions, comments, I was trying to go over a lot. The unhoused was one. I was really, I wanted to share that with you because I didn't know that. I didn't know what people did if they did not have, an address. And they're saying, no, they allow for that. Voting after convicted of felony. You can pre-register to vote. You can prepare to vote at age 18. I think it's at 16. You can register to vote. And so that at 18, you automatically will get all the information. Voting as a military service. Usually that's absentee. I would just call the Register of Voters. That's the place to call. All the things I'm talking about, they have answers to everything. So I want to tell you, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I have enjoyed you as I always do. I appreciate you coming. And thank you, replay viewers. I look back, I go online and it's like, wow, I never know who's watching, to be honest with you, but I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. And we will be back again on Monday, a week from today. We'll be back with another topic. Probably will be about voting in some way, only because that is the hot topic of what's going on in our society today. I mean, you can't even turn the TV on without something about voting. That's just the what we're living under. But then after November, things kind of quiet down, that kind of thing. So God bless each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing you in a week from today. All right. Bye, everybody.